if I don't hear 3 questions in a conversation that I'm having with a VP or C-level, then it means that we're not talking seriously. And that's first, what are the legal boundaries? So first and foremost, one of the interesting things is my current role as a customer engineer, right? Like not a software engineer, not a principal architect, nothing like that. It's a customer engineer. Regardless of what organizations want, people will always find a way. We call it shadow IT, right? Like you already have an employee that will use Gemini, right, to search for a business topic.
Yeah.
And that will happen regardless if you want it or not. What are the use cases that AI can cover? And I think that's the wrong question to ask, really. That's an interesting question because it's hot right now. In Google Cloud, we have Google for Startups. It's here. It was already available for all startups here in the region. I've just got back from Slash last week, and what I've seen there is so much energy in the startup universe, in the founders and the startup universe. I can inspire, right? Like by presenting this AI opportunity, by presenting the potential use cases. That's inspiration.
Yeah.
But then again, this does not touch the roadmap, the needs of the organization that I'm engaging with.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the InnovX Innovators Podcast. I'm Adrian Secelanu, your host, and this series is produced by InnovX, who was recently recognized by Financial Times, Statista and Sifted as the top accelerator for Eastern Europe. Today's guest is Horia Niculescu from Google. Hello Horia, welcome.
Hey Sece, how are you?
Great. So I think we have a lot of topics, great topics ahead of us. So I think it's going to be a very interesting show. First of all, let's set the stage and let's talk a little bit about you. So tell us a few words about your career. How did you end up at Google?
Where to start? So first and foremost, one of the interesting things is my current role as a customer engineer, right? Like not a software engineer, not a principal architect, nothing like that. It's a customer engineer. And the role is designed, by design, it's vague, right? And the mission of this role is for me to help teams deliver on their mission using my abilities, which are technical in this case. So I'm helping them push their projects, be it mostly in data, AI, data analytics, but then again, all across the board when it comes to cloud technology. Let me give you an example, like today, right?
Yeah.
Before joining the show. So first and foremost, I had to do a follow-up to reach for a VP in DeepMind for establishing a partnership with one of the customers that I've met at Slush last week.
Okay.
So that was an email. Hey, just kind reminder, just be mindful that we need this partnership. Okay. Second was I had to I had to help a team take a decision when it comes to data architecture when developing and deploying their data platform. They are a big retailer here in Central Eastern European Union. And then they were like, okay, but we need an expert advice. They were having these conversations between themselves and they asked me for advice. Okay, cool. This is it. Like, thank you very much. And the third thing, really quickly, just before reaching up, I've had to review a price assessment for an AI project for a call center analytics with one of the telcos here in the region. Really quick, just review it. Okay, thumbs up, thumbs down. So that's kind of the daily activity that a customer engineer might have.
So you are dealing with, let's say, with high-profile projects?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We are.
And in which areas? Let's define also this. So
Okay.
you're a customer engineer dealing with high-profile projects in the areas?
We call it Central and Eastern Europe, which is up from, like Estonia down to Cyprus, from Czech Republic all the way to Turkmenistan, something like that. So it's like 30 countries.
Okay. And which areas? Cloud, machine learning?
As a customer engineer, we need to be, like T-shaped when it comes to proficiency. So we need to cover the entire spectrum of cloud, and not only the technical part, but also the understanding business, understanding the solutions on top of the technology, mixing business with technology. But then again, the T-shape, I need to understand the entire cloud, but then again, I will focus on data analytics, AI, and ML. Like that's my specialization.
Okay. And how are things going on? And do you see a lot of projects going, a lot of discussions? What can you share?
Are we counting the number of AI? So AI. I'm seeing a big shift. So I joined Google 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, everything was about infrastructure, right? Like give me the right type of machines that I need to deploy my workloads. And then slowly but surely, there was a push for data analytics. Without data, you can't move that much when it comes to business, to innovation, stuff like that. So then there was a push for data analytics, data platform, data lakes, whatever. And in the last year and a half, almost the entire energy, both from the business perspective and from the cloud, is pushing this effort towards AI adoption. So whenever I engage with high profile, that means C-level to VP level, there's no meeting where we don't touch at least, like a quarter or half of the conversation about how can AI help their organization.
Maybe we should discuss a little bit about this AI landscape and define a little bit. When you are speaking about AI, I think everyone from the audience has its own reference. Maybe someone is thinking about ChatGPT, someone is thinking about Gemini, maybe we have consumers, and I imagine that an engineer has another reference, a C-level another reference. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the landscape and what's Google doing in this area and where is it positioned.
First and foremost, you really nailed it when it comes to the definition of AI. It's a moving target, right? If we would have asked what AI is 10 years ago, it was the ability to predict the behavior of someone on the internet. And now, like everybody does that. We don't even call it machine learning, right? They are just some algorithms. Okay. So exactly, depending on who we're engaging with, the definition is different. Now, if we ask European Union, right, it's the ability to mimic human-like behavior and decision-making, something like that, which is very vague. Now, when it comes to what Google does in the AI space, first and foremost, after Sundar Pichai became CEO, he declared that Google is an AI-first company. And he set the vision, and our mission was to enhance the AI capabilities. Of course, like gather the entire data and make it accessible to everyone. That's the Google mission in general. And since then, we've started putting in practice the AI principles. So the technology was there. We've included AI, like in Gmail, right? You open the Gmail, we have the spam filters. That's AI. And then you have Google Maps calculating routes. That's AI again. You have Google Translate, again AI. So AI is embedded in most of our products. But then again, why should we keep this technology only to ourselves? So most of the efforts that we develop internally, that we transform into services and then we monetize, we also share back with the community and with the entire world. And this is done through multiple channels, multiple ways. One of the most recent, and it's the Transformer white paper, right? Our engineers found a really interesting way on how to interpret words and text and then interact with the text without just the search part, right? And that was the Transformer white paper. And we put it out there, like, hey, look, this is something really interesting, take a look. And of course, that was also rewarded with the Nobel Prize, right, like this year. So 2 thumbs up for the team and also for this attitude. But then again, okay, you're spreading the idea, right? This is not only an initiative, like, and then we need to come up with multiple ways on how to push this idea into reality. And that means, okay, we need to give also resources, right? Like if I only have the idea, but I don't have the infrastructure required, I cannot do anything. So through Google Cloud, we're also putting the infrastructure in the hands of organizations. Second, you need a platform, right? Because not everybody has DevOps experience. Like, okay, I have some GPUs, TPUs, whatever, these words, right? How do I use that to actually apply what was in that white paper, the Transformer white paper? Well, you need a platform, Vertex AI in this case. Okay, I have a platform, but maybe I don't have the DevOps people, right, in my team. I'm a startup, I want to move fast, so I want an API, right? Like just give me something simple, 10 lines of code, let me interact with it. Okay, we have the next level with the API. Then, yeah, but maybe this is not enough. I want some, we call it RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Maybe I want also that, and I don't want to spend time of my engineers to develop that. We also offer that. So depending on the point in the journey of a company, we kind of get close to them and try to help them wherever they are.
Okay. Maybe we should spend a little more time talking about how is Google doing AI, and how about this topic of responsible AI, and what are those principles that you are following on, and how is this different versus what's happening on the market? Why is this important?
First and foremost, it shouldn't be different, right? Everybody should adopt these kind of principles. If not these principles, which were, again, released with the community, and we're trying, spreading the idea, right, and increasing the adoption, at least something similar. So first and foremost is use the technology for good, right? And how do you define good in this case? Well, it should be useful for society. It should not be biased or unfair. Okay, how do you define bias or unfair, right? And we have this designed, and we also shared it with the public. And then we should also use the resources in a responsible way, right? For example, what's happening right now, and we really need to address it, right? Like I'm starting a conversation with any of the chatbots, let's say Gemini or whatever solution, and I'm saying, hi, press enter, right? And then the amount of energy of electricity that it's used just to interpret my 2 letters, hi, right, and then generate a response is not in equal measure, but somewhere close to, hey, can you please explain to me what E equals MC squared means, and tell it like for a 3 years old. What is the amount of electricity, right? Like how are we going to implement in a responsible way the usage of that technology? So we are addressing this both through our data centers, both through how we implement the technology. And this is one clear way on how we try to take these principles and put them in action.
Okay. And let's spend some time also discussing about the opportunity presented by AI, and maybe you could share a little bit your vision on various segments on the market, because I think it's a different thing for big corporates like banks, telcos, and so on, and maybe it's different for entrepreneurs and startups and so on, so which are not building themselves something like this. So how do you see all this?
I believe, based on the interactions that I have, right?
Yeah.
Because I work on opportunities, right? The companies that I interact with, they have their mission and then their roadmap, and that transforms into an opportunity to develop something, and opportunity for the end customer as well. And the opportunities are the same, right? Because if I want to make a better world by helping society through a better traffic, public transportation, I can do that both as a big company or as a small company. The opportunity is there. It's a matter of reach and execution potential. And of course, bigger corporations, bigger organizations have more potential of executing on these projects, but of course they also have the bureaucracy and stuff like that. Now, what AI does, to put it into the context of AI, what AI does is leveling the game, right? Right now, you are able to develop a solution with way less, effort, power, coming from developers, architects, like brainstorming the ideas. You can use, for example, Gemini to help you brainstorm the idea. Do a SWOT analysis, a SWOT analysis of this idea. And then pros, cons, deliver a time frame, deliver a roadmap, and then also use Gemini to help you code, right? Not deliver the full code in production, but at least, like generate the initial code for the MVP. And you do all of this with way less resources than it was required like 5 years ago. So AI right now is leveling the game, and it allows small players to use the same opportunities as any other player in the market.
That's a good point. I had a different vision, but it's good that we have these discussions because we get to hear what's happening really on the market. Then let me ask you if there is a difference between big companies and smaller companies when it comes to using AI and testing AI, because you said at some point that there is some bureaucracy in the big companies. And also, I'm wondering, what do you see at high-level executives, if they are open to this or still there is work to be done in this area?
When we engage in the ideation phase, we need to clearly split two use cases. First is the use of AI in the internal tool, helping automate, improve, innovate internal processes, and then applying AI for our final end user, our customer, whoever we are serving with our organization. Because these two are clearly distinct when it comes to resources, to firepower, to project management, to whatever you want, and also to internal stakeholders. So that's one. Second is usually companies initially, like whenever I had this conversation 1.5 years, 2 years ago when the hype started, they were like, okay, how can we serve our customers first? Like, how can we use it? Customer support use cases, like chatbots on their website, knowledge agents, all of this stuff. And slowly but surely, right now we are having this conversation of, okay, how can we actually improve also our internal operations so that we will have more time on developing solutions for external, right, for our end user. So that's one. When it comes to bureaucracy, my God, that's hard, right? Like that's hard to handle. The bigger the organization, the higher the level of bureaucracy. That's a fact, right? The number of layers, the number of people, and the internal regulations. What I'm seeing is that we already passed the first movers step, because large corporations were actually waiting for this thing to either be successful or fail and then move. After almost 2 years of this being already served in the market, we see that big players, organizations with 500,000 plus employees are doing that. For example, the Schwartz Group, right? Like this is really recent. Last week or 2 weeks ago, they signed a deal for a workspace, right? 500,000 plus employees in the entire group. Like that's a big step, and definitely we see that there's critical mass and that the internal adoption of AI, it's here to stay.
How important is planning in these AI projects and strategic discussion? And is it different? Can you do this faster, or on the contrary, you need even more time to think how you do things and who is involved and what kind of resources you need, and how is this playing?
Regardless of what organizations want, people will always find a way. We call it shadow IT, right? Like you already have an employee that will use Gemini, right, to search for a business topic.
Yeah.
And that will happen regardless if you want it or not, because the employee, that person actually finds value in the service. So the question is, how should we accelerate, right, access to technology? And that comes usually if I don't hear 3 questions in a conversation that I'm having with a VP or C-level, then it means that we're not talking seriously. And that's first, what are the legal boundaries of us and Google, right? Like in this partnership. So we need to talk about legal terms. Second is okay, what is the pricing? If we don't talk about pricing, then, we don't talk about anything. And then how can we implement this with our current setup, on-prem, in the cloud, or whatever? If one of these three questions is missing, then we're not there yet, and we're not discussing, or at least we don't have a full picture of what's needed to push to production.
I'm wondering if you could share some of the most common questions or challenges, things that you see repeating in discussions with customers as you are looking in a bigger region, not only in Romania. So I think you have a bigger view on what's happening. So which are the main things that are keeping you on the table to discuss?
Regardless of the region, are you going to use our data? Right?
Okay.
And that's the first thing that I get. And the answer is, it depends, right? We have consumer apps like Gemini.google.com that may use encrypted data for further retraining. It's in the terms of service. And then again, we have enterprise-ready solutions where we don't touch customer data. In Google Cloud, for example, which is the enterprise-ready platform, we're not touching that, and we are enforcing these by the terms and conditions for general use of Google Cloud. And even that, usually, it's not enough. Okay, yeah, but those are the generic terms and services. And then we have the back and forth, all the legal conversations. But the number one question would be this: are you using our data? Slowly, it decreases in occurrences, but still it's there. So that's one. Second is, what are the use cases that AI can cover? And I think that's the wrong question to ask, really.
Why?
Because I already have, I open my laptop, I have a ton of slides, 20, 30 slides with, nice diagrams, with use cases, industries, opportunity cost, return of investment, all of this. But then again, I also have my prior conversations with customers, with organizations similar to the one that I'm engaging with. But then again, I'm like, I can inspire, right? By presenting this AI opportunity, by presenting the potential use cases. That's inspiration.
Yeah.
But then again, this does not touch the roadmap, the needs of the organization that I'm engaging with, right? I'm talking with a COO. And as chief operational officer, they need to improve operations and communications inside the company. Okay, I have 5, 10 use cases like that. But what is the pain point? Why can't you improve it just by putting email in everyone's pocket? Just give them a device or something. Why don't you, share documents online? Bam, that's it. And everybody has access to documents online. And that's the conversation that we need to have, instead of me or, the big providers, the big solution providers, presenting, this marketplace of solutions.
So actually you need companies to present their pain points.
Exactly.
Not them hearing you, what did you do in other places? So
I have this saying, and people that engage with me in conversations know, we have that conversation for the person or for the group of persons in the room, or else I could just send, some YouTube video clips 5 minutes long. Here, this is your inspiration. So
okay, so the companies need a mirror to put in front of themselves and take a look at what they see there, and then that's a starting point.
This is a process that all organizations need to have more and more as the pressure increases top down from board to top leadership to management. Everybody needs to do this, and it's not only the ivory tower, the top leadership that needs to do this, but everyone in the entire organization.
Looking at the whole market, I'm not talking right now what you do at Google, but at the whole market, do you think there is a pressure on companies to say they are doing something with the AI, but not always thinking it really thoroughly and take a look at their pain points and so on? So maybe just to say, and we are doing AI, and we are a great company, and how do you see things going on?
It depends on the company, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have big organizations, then you have startups. Then what I'm seeing, also being involved in the startup universe here in the region, I'm seeing that if you're not into AI, health tech, or defense in our part of the region, then funding is really hard to get, right? So you need this, hashtag something in order to have open doors and then to move forward. But that's the startup thing, right? With organizations, usually larger organizations, they have a mandate coming from board level, top down, to implement the innovation, new innovations internally to customers, etc. So I see that, and usually we can also see that in the execution. Projects that involve AI are prioritized higher than other projects. Cost saving right now is still important, but definitely from what I see and what I engage with, cost saving right now is surpassed by AI innovation, which is a good thing, I think.
Okay, and I'm also wondering if return on investment is a topic is really addressed when you discuss with customers, and how are things going on this, and what kind of answers are you providing? How can one measure the return on investment on AI projects?
To measure is first to define that KPI and return of investment, even if it seems, like straightforward. It's not, because everybody has their own way of measuring it. And you also need a reference point, right? Because if you're using, let's say annual recurring revenue, okay, that's nice. But how are you going to calculate the impact of one initiative? Usually you start small, you start with prototyping, and then you roll out. And you'll see that by using the main KPIs that an organization has, it's really hard to measure the return of investment of these small projects as you're rolling them out. So this means that first you need to define KPIs for this project itself. And this is project management. And I see an increased demand in project management resources inside the organization, especially for this. So that's one. Measuring impact, defining KPIs. And then you also need this reference point, right? Like, okay, if I define a new KPI and I want to check return of investment, then I need a baseline. So this demands some discipline. Now, when we discuss high level, again, C-level, VP level, they really don't care about these small numbers, right? Like, okay, you have a POC, you have a pilot, it's successful to thumbs up, but I really want to see the bottom line impact. And for that, we already have examples that started implementing the technology more than a year ago, and right now we see improvements.
And also, I'm thinking, are there any mistakes that companies usually do, and maybe you could name a few so that other companies can avoid them? I don't know. There are things that they could avoid.
There are a few things. First and foremost, I've seen that many of the organizations that we have here in the region were locked in the mentality of data needs to sit in EU, even if they were not regulated to do so. And unfortunately for us here in the region, the first rollout of most of the high-end technology, of most of the new releases, are done in the West, covering the tier 1 or however you want to call them, regions, and then slowly rolled out also from a language support, etc. And by waiting to have this technology available here in the EU, that delayed with a few months, right? That's so everybody that used resources outside of EU, they had a head start. So far, so good. Then again, it's also being locked in the legal state, right? Like, hey, we just want to have, all of these checkboxes marked, and then we can start out with the project. No, you don't need that. Use a project that does not involve PII data. Usually it's GDPR, PII. Any organization has tons of small projects that don't involve PII data. For example, just improve your Q&A on your website, right? That's the lowest hanging fruit. It's a project that can be implemented in 2 days. I've done that multiple times during hackathons and with teams, 2 days. And it's no PII data. Just improve the way you are interacting with your customers, with your users. And even for these use cases, which don't have any limitation whatsoever, some organizations wait. And that's missed opportunity, and definitely people should take these low-hanging fruits. That's one. And second, they try to build something really top-notch, right? Like, no, we want it to be perfect. If the model, if the agent will answer something wrong, then, everything goes bad. Yes and no, depending on how you frame and how you set the expectations towards your end user, right? And start with small projects. After these small projects, define, the business proposition. You do, assessment, A/B testing with your users, roll them out, and this is how you also gain knowledge.
Now you open the discussion to another segment. Now that you mentioned these things, so share with us some real-world examples, not customer names, of course. What can be done? You said Q&A on the website. Great example, and you said it could be done in 2 days, so you don't have to wait a year to do this. So what else? What can companies?
I would take a step back. I will answer this question, but I want to step back a bit to understand how we can assess, right? I keep presenting this type of framework in many events that I'm presenting. So first and foremost, I have an activity to accomplish, right? Like just prepare for this podcast that we're having here. And for that sounds simple, like just take some topics, be sure that you have them, ground them in truth. Okay. But then again, it's more than that because the tasks are different. We need to align, we need to exchange some emails, I need to prepare, just a small document just to write down my ideas, etc. So if I break it down, there are multiple tasks. Some of these tasks can be helped by AI, while some cannot. So when we map this, we identify that, and multiple activities are grouped into a role, multiple roles are grouped into a job, multiple jobs into a business line, and the business line, multiple business lines into a business. And then if I do this kind of analysis on my activities and my tasks, I observe that right now I have very few activities that can be automated end-to-end by AI. But then again, I do see some common patterns in most of the activities. This means open your productivity tools, which in my case would be the email, right? That's a productivity tool because I interact in most of my interactions. The chat app, right? I need to interact with people, again, in chat app. So if I make a map of all the activities and all the tools that I'm using, then I see Gmail, Meet, chat. And then that's the opportunity that I have. And I know that by implementing AI here, I will be able to have a broader reach. So we say email and chat channels. And now, what can I do, right, with this? Well, with emails, I can improve first communication in the organization. So anything regarding improving this flow, information flow, is a big plus because you'll have a wider reach. Chat as well. Building agents for chat right now. Just for example, what we're using right now, 2 examples. In our team chat, 20 plus engineers, we have implemented agents that will help us answer questions because, of course, I'm not the keeper of knowledge, right? I don't know anything, but me and my team, definitely we get close. So I ask my team, hey, can you help me with this and that? And of course, I still, wait for an answer. With these agents, we already done this. We connected them, we grounded them to most of our internal documents, which I would search through, and then I get an answer. Of course, I wouldn't trust 100% that answer, but definitely it speeds me up and it gives me leads. That's one. And second, the product team, we have product releases almost on a daily basis. And the product team usually sent, these, 3-4 pages long documents with all of the notes, the release notes, etc. And we get that every day, 5-6 emails a day. What they started doing lately is implement the Notebook LM with all of the documents that they have, put a link there that is shareable with the entire organization. And then instead of me, going through that, clicking on the link, I can ask a question. Hey, please summarize this in like 3 lines. Bam, that's it. I get the summarization. You could do also this with Gmail. Okay, but I have this, and then I would read it out loud. That's another thing, right? Because I want to listen to that, or start asking questions for additional resources, and that's already becoming a practice. And it's so easy to. This is inside Google. Outside Google, again, you have usually interactions with customers, and that's customer agents, that's website. You have interactions with documents, right? Right now, Gemini is so smart that it can read the documents, the PDFs, images, videos, audio files, and you can interact with them. For example, call center analytics is one of the big use cases because it involves unstructured data. Usually somebody had to listen to a conversation, take notes, etc., right? Or do a diaritization, a transcription, and then you had the transcript, ask that. Right now, you can ask directly an audio file. Hey, did my agent use the free, the free point identification thing? Did my agent had a nice and friendly tone, which on a transcript, you couldn't see the tone, right? You could infer it from the words used, but not from the tone. And you have all of these right now with a single question, natural language, directly on top of the files. So documents and communication, these are the lowest hanging fruits that can be implemented in a few days.
Anyway, I should point out who hasn't tried Notebook LM should definitely try it. It's really an amazing tool, and I think it really speeds up a lot of things. So anyone can try it, so just do it. What else is of interest, and when you discuss with customers and potential customers, what other subjects are on the table? What else?
Mostly data, right? Because right now everybody can access AI with a single API call. That's 7 to 10 lines of code.
But
right
do companies have data? Because I think it should be a pretty. I'm really curious what you're going to say, because you are covering a diverse segment of countries, and the picture, the landscape should be diverse. And so I'm really curious. Or maybe you are just dealing with companies who already have data in digital data, and they can use it. So how
the
do you
data
see?
can be digital,
Okay.
but then again, in what format, right? For example, I've just wrapped up an MVP with a company that uses documents for KYC, know your customer.
Yeah.
And in financial services, whenever a customer reaches a certain threshold, you need to ask for additional information so that they can transact over that threshold. And then you need to ask, by regulatory demands, you need to ask specific questions. But your customers are actually all over the world, right? Because most of the transactional platforms are online. So they receive documents in all languages. And the KYC team, the Know Your Customer team, they have such a hard time of actually interpreting all of that, extracting all the information. And they came up with this. Hey, we really need your help to solve this. And I was like really, it shouldn't take more than a week. Oh no, this is crazy. It takes, it's more complex than that. No. Just drop all your documents, unstructured documents, drop them somewhere. Oh, we already have them on Google Drive. Thumbs up. That's good. Keep them there. Second, implement a very basic agent that you ask the question and you implement the RAG, the retrieval augmented generation on top of that. Again, very simple, like 7 or 8 clicks, right, with Vertex AI. And then you have the part where you actually need to translate all, right, in the same language. But guess what? Right now, most of the models are covering like 120. Gemini covers 120 languages plus. So you don't need to, for each language, you don't need to repeat this. It's a single solution that can play with multiple language documents. And it took us 1 week for the POC. The team was impressed. And 6 weeks to have all that process to MVP level. MVP because they also have, like small calls they need to check for internal databases, etc., etc. But the big part of it, like checking the documents in different languages and extracting all the required information, that's there. And It's so easy to implement.
And how about cloud? Do you need cloud or do you need your own infrastructure? How do you see this topic? How are companies dealing with this? They want to invest? Are they eager to move to the cloud? How are things?
That's an interesting question because it's hot right now. You have the side that says, oh no, you have open source and then you can use that open source however you want. Meta is doing a great thing with open sourcing Llama, for example, 2 thumbs up there. But then again, okay, I have Llama, but how can I use that, right? Or I have Gemma. Google also open source. We also open source our own models. How do I use that, right? Like, where do I put this black box of a thing? And I start asking questions. And you need infrastructure. And usually for this infrastructure, you'd either need to pay from a few $100 to a few thousand or tens of thousands for one of those high-end machines. If you have that money, and if you can spare that money, and if you also have the DevOps, like the people that handle the infrastructure, and then you also have the security on top of that, and if you have all of these layers, do it. In 1 year, these machines, we already see that these machines become obsolete, right? Google Cloud already released our 5th generation of tensor processing units, for example, and we announced the 6th generation. And what are you going to do with those $30,000 that you've invested in a machine? Of course, that becomes commodity and you will be using maybe later. But it's a matter of economy at scale. Do you have the scale to invest in hardware? Then it's not a fact, it's a question, you should do it. But most startups and most companies do not have that, right? And where would you take just a fraction? And this is the value proposition that cloud offers. You can take either a fraction of that compute unit, or you can take part of a platform like Kubeflow or whatever, like you already have that, the framework, or you take an API, or you take directly the service. That's the value proposition. Do it at scale, just what you need, and then roll out and grow with the demand from your customers, not with the demand from your providers. And
also, I think the energy bills is a hot topic, and it's going to be even hotter next year if you have this kind of infrastructure. So, how about the startups and entrepreneurs in the Central and Eastern Europe? If they want to engage with Google, do you have any programs, any structured?
We are rolling out more and more. Google has Google for Startups, right? And we have various accelerators and various programs. In Google Cloud, we have Google for Startups. It's here. It was already available for all startups here in the region. The feedback that I received is that even if the programs are available, the people were hard to be found. And we took that feedback, and in the past 3 years, we invested a lot in also the team that can help first promote these programs, and then also help roll them out. Now, Google for Startups, we are helping all the startups, $100,000. If you have at least been invested at least once, seed or Series A. And then we also have accelerators for AI projects. We are giving away credits up to $350,000, especially for health and AI projects. And that is accessible. I have an anecdote. I'm also a mentor in these kind of programs, and this year I've engaged in multiple. One of which is Social Tides, which is part of the Google for Startups, Grow with AI, and there I've met with Bloom Technologies, right, which is a startup from here, from Romania.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up, you're doing a great job, really cool. So yes, we also cover this. We also have success stories with local teams, and not only from Romania, but from the entire region. And right now we also have the people that can help and engage in this.
So the message is reach out and ask questions and to you. Not only to you, I think.
Yes, we have. You can access the Google for Startups on the page, and there we have a dedicated team of 20%ers in Google. These are additional projects that we engage with, and the number of 20%ers for this is continuously growing.
At this point, because we don't have any crystal balls here, I don't think you have one. At this point, I haven't seen it. So at this point, with the knowledge you have, with all the things you have seen on the market, how does the future look when we are looking at AI and automation?
I would split this in two. First and foremost, we need to educate people, and we need to promote this technology. The AI is here to stay. It's not a hype. So that's a fact. If it's here to stay, it will impact us positively, negatively, hopefully positively, because we have so many things. But definitely there will be, like this tension, the transition. This happened with all technologies, and we want to make sure that people feel comfortable using the technology and implementing it into their day-to-day lives. And you do this by education, by promoting success stories, and by making it easily accessible for everyone. This is why we've implemented in most of our products like Gmail, Search, Pixel phones. Wherever you look, we implemented this technology and we made it easy to use. So that's one thing. Adoption. When we think about evolution, I see that we have pushed the boundaries of the software, of the mind so far, but we're still lagging on the physical realm, right? If we split, I get back to the framework that I was presenting before, right? You split all the tasks, all the activities, etc. And some of the tasks actually require us to interact with the physical world. And that's where AI has some hard boundaries. We have Waymo, right? Like say self-driving cars, which are already operating and expanding. That's great. That's robotics in the car, in the transportation world, which is nice. But then again, we do need to expand the capabilities of the AI technology also in the physical realm, and that's done through robotics. And I believe that that is the next step. Once we hit a saturation level with AI, we will see an increased pressure on the robotics.
Okay, and let me also ask you, how do you see, what would you recommend to startups, entrepreneurs, mid-corporates, I don't know, here in the region? Maybe you have recently came back from Slush, so how do you see things? Maybe you could point out some differences or something you saw there and you would like to see also here.
So I've just got back from Slush last week, and what I've seen there is so much energy in the startup universe, in the founders and the startup universe. And first and foremost, there's money in the market, and that's a fact. If you join one of these events, you will see tens of thousands of people with potential, right? Either a potential solution or a potential financial backup. And it's there. Now, of course, people are more strict right now when it comes to AI because everybody can implement AI, but it's harder to scale and make it profitable. So that's one of the things that I kept hearing, right, from all the pitches and all the VCs that I was engaging with. It's not just burn the money now and scale it and get back to profitability in like 5 to 10 years, because right now AI is somehow subsidized. Like you still have Gemini, which is free. Of course, you also have the paid version, but you have all of these services which are freemium or free directly. And then again, you need that tipping point, and people need to check that earlier and earlier. Usually for profitability, you'd check that for Series A or Series B. Right now, venture capital firms are asking you, hey, what are your plans for profitability?
Okay, and let me think. what question didn't I ask you and you wanted me to ask you? So share with me. Maybe it's a topic you wanted to address and I haven't been thinking about it.
I think that I haven't addressed yet some of our programs here in Romania.
Okay.
And one of them is Grow with Google, and we invest a lot in the educational programs. And these are rolled out with various organizations, NGOs, and universities, even high schools. And I highly recommend people to look into that. And also participate. If possible, we are open to collaborations. That's one. And the second is Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap is, again, a program rolled out globally, but also locally. And what we've seen is that even if female population is 51% at global level, we only have a representation of somewhere around 30% in engineering roles. So we want to address that gap. And with Mind the Gap, we have multiple initiatives to advertise, to promote STEM and technical roles also to that.
Even if Romania, I think, statistically is doing better than other countries and in the EU in the percentage of females in this STEM area. So what else? Any other question, any other topic I haven't thought of asking you and you would like to share? Maybe you want to address anything else?
Yes. So for everyone, like if I would need to do a mic drop, it would be the technology is here to stay, but we need to we need to use it and implement it in a responsible way. Google sees this, right? Like we have a bold vision, but also a responsible way on how to implement it. And we recommend this kind of attitude towards everyone. Don't be just bold, right? Because you might break some stuff, and don't just be responsible because you might be slow. So we need to be both bold and responsible. And with us at Google, we're trying to do that and to push this technology and to push value to all of our customers.
Okay, now I promise my final question. Next year, what would you like to see? I don't know, a big AI project in Romania, a big AI project in the CE, whatever. Well, share with us. What's your ambition? What would you like to see?
I would love to see us in Romania catching up on the number of unicorns that countries in the region have. I work a lot with the Baltics region, and I see there the energy, the mentality, and I think that we should get inspired by the Baltics. We have the potential. We have both the human capital, the people, the engineers here, and also the resources, the financial resources. And I would love for us to get inspired by that and to grow the next unicorn.
Okay, let's end with this. So let's be bold and build unicorns. Okay, Horia, thank you very much for joining us today and for this insightful discussion.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you also for you watching us, and please stay around for new episodes of this InnovX Innovators podcast. So that's all for today. Thank you.